Hey, what's going on? Do another trailer reaction, and I've got my friend Scott here.
Yo,
Scott, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm ready to react.
React. Here's my reaction.
This reaction, I need an injection. And you got an EpiPen? Because I'm having a reaction.
Yeah, so we got the new trailer coming out. I guess it's the Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry.
Yeah,
Don't forget the colon. It's in there.
And so I guess this is I don't know if it's going to be an anthology or if it's just going to. So I did a little research, a little deep diving on this, and I guess it was supposed to be originally 9 episodes, but then I guess the strike happened during the filming, so now it's down to 6, I think. So I have a lot of issues. Well, it looked great. I mean, it's from the same makers as the movies. It's got, Bill Skarsgård. That's who it is. I know it was Skarsgård, but Skarsgård, but I couldn't remember which one. Bill. So it's got him and Andy Muschietti who did the movies, and it looks great. I mean, I think if I can learn anything from what Andor has become, I mean, and that bar is pretty high after that. Yeah, I'm open to it. I'm open to kind of see what it's like. But, these 6-episode kind of seasons, and then you got to wait 2 years for the next season. I mean, I'm kind of going through that with The Last of Us. Do you watch The Last of Us?
Yep. Yeah, and it's almost over. It feels like it just started.
And I feel like it's kind of doing this thing, which I heard somebody else compare it to the House of Dragon. I don't know if you're watched that one, but it became this thing. The second season was promising, and House of Dragon was promising this big war. And you're thinking at the end of the first season, so you're thinking, okay, the second season, there's going to be this big war. A lot of people are going to, and then the 6 or I think 7 episodes or whatever. I don't know how many episodes. The whole thing, they were just, it's going to be a war. It's going to be a war. It's going to be a war. And then they end the season saying, we're going to war. And you're like, so that's what I kind of hope they kind of avoid that, especially with a short season, like 6 episodes. I don't know, but what are your thoughts, Scott? What do you think about this?
6 episodes is tough. It's tough to get a lot of information in there, and especially when it's something, if you're doing 6 and then you have a break and you have another 6 coming up, but not a 2-year break. That's a long time to expect people to care. And go back. I always have to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people are like, it's only 6 episodes and then another season is coming out in like 27. Yeah. Why watch it now? Just wait till then and I'll watch, 12 episodes of it.
Yeah.
But, as far as it being I'm always a fan of the things that I like. And look, it's not even showing. Got to see my friend's podcast back there anymore. Technical difficulties.
Oh, damn. Ratings are going to go down.
People are going to be like, look at that. These guys are amateurs. It's amateur hour over there. So I'm a fan of the things I'm a fan of, right? I'm not the type of fan that's like, well, Stephen King did this and that's fine. He did that story, and I don't think everything has to be tried and true to that. You don't have to get pigeonholed into that one little factoid book. You can open it up. You can change things like they did with the movie. They slid the timeline because the original, the adults were in the 80s, right? And they said, well, the kids are in the 80s now, and now the adults are in the 20 whatevers. You do stuff like that. You tweak it, and you've got to be open to the changes. So even though I think a lot of this stuff isn't directly from the book, they're taking some liberties with it. I'm open to it. I'm here for it. Would I like to see more than 6 episodes? Yeah, I'd like to see 42 episodes of it and Derry and Pennywise. So when it comes out, it'll be great. But I hate waiting. Waiting. Somebody once said, I think it was Lori Petty, that the waiting is the hardest part. I think it was in Tank Girl.
It's one of the Petties.
One of those.
It's one of those. Yeah.
Richard, when he was driving, he's like, the waiting is the hardest part for the green light.
But yeah, I have to agree with you, man, because I want to I want to like it too. Like it's when things go bad, especially like with Marvel movies and stuff. I don't want them to do bad. I want to like them, but I think that's my issue. Is that I think how can you you got to hit the ground running? I guess. I mean, 6 episodes. I mean, the first season of The Last of Us, not to go back to The Last of Us, but the first season of The Last of Us, I was kind of, it was really compelling, and it kind of got my attention, and I was there each episode I think that each episode, yeah, and I think this season for me, with the exception of maybe the second episode, it just turned into Walking Dead really fast,
Mhm.
and this thing of this promise. It seems like this promise of all right, we're gonna have this showdown between these two girls, and what I'm feeling like is that it's not gonna happen this season. It's just this whole season has been kind of a build up to the next season, which is again the House of Dragons, which was kind of promised this thing that it's going to happen in the season, and then all of a sudden the whole season becomes this build up to what was promised in this season, and it's so. I mean, that's the only worry that I have in terms of stories. I think what I read was that they were going to make this every 27 years, but going backwards. So
Mhm.
if it gets picked up for season 2 and 3, so I think I'm hoping for that, because then maybe I think without the strike shortened seasons and stuff, and maybe they can make it 12 and you know 10 or 12 episodes. That would be great. But again, the season breaks of like, oh man, 2 years. I got to wait 2 years for the next season, and I don't know. I mean, you would think with standard TVs and the way they run their shows, 22, 24 episodes a season. Yeah, maybe not that many, but you would like that rhythm of the longer seasons in
Mhm.
and maybe, I don't know, in the 14 or 16 episode seasons. That would be great. So,
Yeah,
and
or
I
give it.
remember when Walking Dead came out, it was
Mhm.
16 episodes. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
give us smaller, give us batches, but give us, drop 4 episodes at once, and
Yeah.
then drop another 4 episodes a couple weeks later,
Yeah.
to keep us, that's why they string it out weekly episodes. Still, there's no need for it. People
Yeah.
don't have appointment TV like that,
Yeah.
so why not just drop a chunk of it and then drop a chunk a couple weeks later? Do it
Yeah.
that way too, if you want to spread it out, but don't give us that long gap.
Yeah. I mean, I think like again, Andor, that kind of raised the bar. I feel like I went into that show. I remember going into that show going like, why are they making a spinoff of this? This is whose idea was this? This is why Star Wars is going down the drain, that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
then I watched the first season and I was kind of interested. I don't think it hit me as much as the buzz around it was, I think, but I was interested enough. It was good enough,
Mhm.
and it was different because I liked Rogue One and it had that same feel. And it was this kind of story about the actual, what is it, the practical applications of a rebellion as opposed
Mhm.
to Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and all that, which was great. And I love those movies too. But it was kind of the inside story about how a rebellion is built and why it happens.
Mhm.
And then this season kind of just, I was amazed by this season. I didn't think that existed in Star Wars anymore, you know. Um, but yeah, so I'm hoping with Derry. It looks nice. It looks great the way it's shot. And it's basically just the source material, because the source material was 57 to 62, I think it was, and those were the kids, and then 80s was the grown-up version. So I think it's this is kind of just more source material stuff, which
Mhm.
is great. I loved it, and I've read the book a bunch of times, so it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of deviate off of the source material there. But yeah,
I,
I'm
I,
open.
I remember I was listening to the audiobook and I was part way into it, and we were driving to Los Angeles, myself, my wife, my daughter, and my mother-in-law. I was like, oh, well, we're on I-5. Like, let me throw on the audiobook. And I'm like, this is it. This is the audiobook of it.
Yeah,
And I put it on, and then then all this sexual stuff, the sexual parts come out while I'm driving and on I-5. I'm like, oh boy.
I'm just gonna
Oh.
turn this off.
And then like I just go, I think I went like, I can turn this off if you want. And my mother-in-law was like, no, I like it. I like hearing
Yeah,
the story. It's great. Okay. And they're like, he masturbated into the coffee can. And you're like, what? Okay. Anyone need to pee? They're at a rest stop.
yeah, I have that audiobook too. It was by Steven Weber, did it,
Mm-hmm.
who was in Wings. He did a fantastic job on that.
Yeah.
I remember I followed him on X or Twitter, X, sorry. And then he left and now he's on Threads. So I follow him on Threads, and I always try to remind him how great that was, because
Mm-hmm.
that was just a great reading. But yeah, I mean, I think the story is great. So
Yeah, you've got
it's
all these
Stephen King,
benchmarks from the book, right? Like you don't have to have everything laid out in
right?
that book. You get the benchmarks, you know what Pennywise is. They've kind of explained what that is, and they can now go back and show those prior iterations.
Yeah,
Open it up to some, creativity there for the kids and how the kids are involved, and do the kids figure it out each season, and they're not going to necessarily beat Pennywise, right? Because
right.
that's he's been
Yeah,
around for a long time, but
yeah,
you can have new stories there. You can also go. The thing I like about shows like this is when they're set in different time periods, they can also do that source material, but they have real life material to work on. So like that, see the school, and it's like the turtle, right? Uh,
yeah,
the turtle
yeah,
says duck and cover, like listen to what he says, like.
yeah.
And that was during like this that same time period was like the Cuban
Missile crisis.
crisis,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it wasn't the Cold War type stuff like the original purpose of that turtle, but they're working it in here,
right.
and so you can see people of color being treated differently in the town.
Yeah.
So you can add all these things in that flesh out those spots that you don't know about from the book.
Yeah, yeah, and when they go earlier, I think the early 1900s was going to be in 1908 or something was going to be season 3, and you can kind of incorporate, maybe the lack of technology or
Mhm.
whatever. Great point there, because I think there's a multitude of things that you can kind of grab from history, and maybe it doesn't affect this town, but maybe
Mhm.
like the world wars and all that kind of stuff, even though it's not the same timeline, but. Yeah,
It-
so I'm looking forward to it, man, and it looks like I don't know. It looks like it should be good. Like I said, I'm open minded to it, so I'm not too standoffish about it, I
Yeah,
suppose.
it'll be fun when they get to the point where it is like the 20s, and people have that
Yeah,
kind of that accent that you think of. It reminds me of the joke that cracked me up last week. It was like, what's the difference between uh, a Catholic cardinal that's wrote a check to the board of Pope deciders and a 1920s mobster that's talking to a newsboy.
wow, that's quite the setup. What is it?
One's trying to buy the papacy, and one's trying to buy the papacy. I forget what comedian
Nice.
said that. I saw it on Reels, I'm sure. But I love when people talk in that accent. It's always great when like Conan O'Brien does a really good one, and they're like,
Yeah,
"Ah, the papacy," and that would
you're
be
not gonna get me, copper.
yeah.
Yeah,
They're just riding on sidecars, through Derry,
yeah,
and on the little hanging onto the side.
yeah. There's actually in the story in the original, I guess the TV series in '88, and I don't know, I can't remember. I haven't read the book in like maybe a couple of years, but where they have the big fire in Derry, where it's the kid that knows all the history. He was like, "Yeah, there's a fire, and all these
Mhm.
people disappeared," and so they'll probably tackle all that stuff too as well. So that would be interesting to see all that, you know. But in the book, it's just kind of what's a past history stuff that they kind
Mhm.
of just bring up once. It'd be nice to see those. Maybe if they dig into those. So yeah.
Now, talking Pennywise is who do you think? Who would you be more scared to see walking down the street, middle of the night? Stumbling home. Is it Tim
And
Curry or is it the
yeah,
current Pennywise?
I mean, there's something to be said about Tim Curry's Pennywise because that was all practical. I mean, there was a few special effects in there, but
Mhm.
for the most part, it was practical. So I mean, you had this, it just looked like a clown from the fair,
Mhm.
which I don't see clowns at the fair anymore. But yeah, and he's that. I mean, that still scares me a little bit, to watch it now. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the OG and be Tim Curry. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You go with Skarsgård, and you'd see him in an alleyway, you'd be like, that's not a real person.
Yeah,
I'm just, I'm not. I'm just a little too drunk or something, right? But
he's
Curry,
still
you're
scary,
like,
but it's not. It doesn't bring the. There was so much more happening behind the eyes with
mhm,
Curry that Tim Curry that it was. And man, it just maybe it's because I was a kid when I saw it too. But I mean, and Skarsgård is still scary, but it's only in those moments where he's like,
mhm,
opens his
mhm.
mouth and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But Tim Curry had just had he had the all around game. You know what I mean? He was just yeah.
Yeah, I think if it's a tough part to play, right? Especially
Yeah.
after Curry, we were just talked about the Joker and Nicholson and Heath Ledger and
Yeah.
stuff, and they can be different types of characters.
Yeah.
But just going into it, knowing that there's someone that's played such an iconic one, that has to be difficult to do that. And it's good he's coming back for this, because
Yeah.
he was great as his version of
Yeah.
Pennywise.
Yeah. And did you like the movie versions, the updated versions ones? I thought they were both great. I
Yeah.
heard I was looking at or was listening to a couple of reviewers on YouTube, and both of them were like, "Yeah, the second one was trash, but the first one was really good." And I thought, "Oh, I mean, I think the poor CGI in a couple places in the second one, but I mean, I liked them both. I mean, they both gave me some scares of like,
Mhm.
whoa, in the
Yeah.
theater, you know. I was like, what's written for that?
Yeah, they did a great job with it. They're a little more true to the source material. I
Yeah.
think is what I've
Yeah.
heard from the movies versus the miniseries.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough to not wear those nostalgia glasses and be able to take those off and be like, "This is mine. This is everything was right with this one. You can't do anything different."
Right.
And I enjoyed them for what they were. It was a retelling of the story. A lot of it was very true to the book. A
Yeah.
lot of it was very similar to the miniseries, right?
Yeah. I
Except the
mean,
ponytail. Except the ponytail. The ponytail.
well, even in the updated ones, they even kind of touched on the hallucination of the turtle and the formation of the universe and all the landing of Pennywise. Or
Mhm.
they hinted at that. It was like a what do you call it? Like a mushroom trip or something, acid trip. And so that was cool. I like that. I mean, in the first one, you couldn't really get. I mean, it was a TV show, TV miniseries, and so
Mhm.
you only had two 2-hour chunks to kind of work with in TV time. So you had like hour and a half, and you couldn't really dive into too deep to the kind of the history of all that stuff. So, and then I think and the ending with the big spider, I think, was a disappointment because it was a last minute thing. They ran out of money and they were
Mhm.
like, this is what it has to be. And so I think a lot of people around that were disappointed by the ending, which I kind of was too, but only when I got older. At the time, I was like, whoa, but yeah, it was, the TV show is great for John Werder. You got to
Mhm.
love anything that he does. So
Yeah, I try to, you try to give things, see it in a positive light, and but watching the trailer, this new trailer, it's kind of like the kids are at it again.
yeah,
The kids are gonna figure out Pennywise again. Let's see what. Oh, they're looking in the pipes again.
yeah, yeah,
You do get an aspect of that when you're watching the trailer, but that's the story that they have to tell. It's the same location,
yeah,
right? It's Derry.
yeah.
You got the Chinese food restaurant. You got the meat place right next door.
The
You
movie
can see all that,
theaters. Yeah,
yeah, and the establishing shot there.
yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of the same. You have to kind of put that
Yeah,
aside and say, yeah, that's
yeah.
all part of this lore is the kids, and it's all about the kids and the parents kind of ignoring it.
That's another concern I think for me too was it was kind of how much can you get out of it? But like we said, I think there's some stuff to be mined there,
Hmm.
especially the history of Derry and all the disappearances every 27 years. And so it kind of gives a little more, it fleshes out those little, plot points that they're able to kind of make a story around. And so that'll be interesting to watch, I
Hmm.
think. And especially if they do it and it looks as good as the trailer, then okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
So
And if they keep going back 27 years and 27 years, like you said, they don't have to
yeah,
worry about Stranger Things syndrome with
yeah,
the kids aging
yeah,
and, that sort of thing. Cause that's always a problem with these shows, especially when you wait the 2 years that we talked about. You get those long periods there. Once you know something's a hit, I understand before that, but once you know it's a hit, sign them up for like 3 seasons at once. Just be like, let's get everything done at once.
yeah,
Let's get it all out there in the can. And then now, go grow up. Go,
yeah. And you
have.
can address the aging issues if you do that,
Mhm.
because they're aging it's kind of the Harry Potter stuff. You can address well each year it's a different new year, a school
Mhm.
year, so obviously they're going to age, and so you can address those issues if you do them in a big chunk like that. That's a good point
Mhm.
because yeah, the Stranger Things now it's going to be the last season, but it's been when did they start? Like 16, 15,
Yeah.
2015, somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
been like
like
10
it's
years.
10 years.
10 years, man. 10 years.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
cool.
It's even watching. Thanks for coming to the it reaction video where we talk about The Last of Us a lot.
Yeah.
It's like when Bella Ramsey came on the season, and I was like, wait, how old is she supposed to be? She's not.
Yeah.
And then I look it up. I'm like, no, she is. Like, just when she was the young kid, she was already like 7 years older than that.
Yeah.
It is jarring. It makes you, stop and go, wait a second. Let me see what age this person really is.
Yeah. And so let's hope for the best for this one. Yeah. So anything else you want to tackle?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing multiple red balloons and teeth growing in someone's mouth through CG.
Oh God, yeah, that's gonna be, and hopefully they have some jump scares in there that are properly placed, and so yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We're gonna have a, let's see, we're gonna have what UHF coming up in tomorrow. We're gonna do the pod, and that's gonna be the last one of the season until August, and then. But I have some other stuff coming up. So if you enjoy what you watch, and if you want to watch more of what we're doing here, like trailer reactions and maybe even books, and which I wanted to do with the podcast, just stick around, and we're going to have some more stuff throughout the summer. And hopefully you'll stick around. So thanks, Scott.
No worries.
See you. All right. We'll see you again next week. Bye.